Hello everyone, this is Sumerian. You may notice that we are still in the toy box that I just did the counter tutorial in. And that's because I'm doing a slight small addendum to it, because if you were watching my counter video, you saw how slow the iteration process goes in the counter. It took quite a while for it to count to 10 to get our scoreboard up there. And like I was saying, the iteration process is exactly like a for statement in programming. And what we're going to do in this short little video is we are going to build our own for statement that is going to work incredibly faster. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all our iteration stuff here. So our party cannon and our scoreboard were both set off the iteration cycled, and the enemy wave generator is doing an iterate. We don't want that to happen anymore, so we'll just remove that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use another counter. Scratch that. What we're going to do is we are going to use a logic gate with this counter to do this much faster. And if you've seen my timed layer video, we're actually going to be using another counter to make a very fast circuit to do this. And so what I'm going to say, if you've watched these videos, you've seen me do this before, is when it opens and when it outputs, it's going to increment this counter by 1. This counter we will set to 4. Make sure reset on target reached is on. And when count changes, we input to this logic gate. And when target is reached, what we're going to do is two things. We are going to decrement this counter by 1. And when target is reached, we are going to increment the player score by 1. What we're doing in this instance is we are going to keep subtracting 1 from this counter. At the same time, we are going to add 1 to the scoreboard. And now we're going to use the 0 reached message from this counter. So what we're going to say is once this counter has decremented all the way down to 0, we don't want to keep incrementing the score anymore. So we need to stop this circuit. So what we will do is we will close that logic gate, and we're going to mimic that iteration process completed message by saying once 0 is reached, we also want to fire off those fireworks. So we have done that. Now all we have to say is when this wave is defeated, we're going to open that logic gate. Make sure that display is off. And for this example, I'm actually going to turn off the visible display. And now we should get a much faster score transferred over to that scoreboard. I'm just going to summon some enemies. And now, as we saw before, this counter is very closely tracking the time. So we know it is going down by 1 every 4 seconds. So I'm going to defeat these enemies. And our counter hit 11, and our party cannon already fired off. Now, just so we can show that it counted to the right number, we're going to reset this. I'm going to turn that visible display on. The only problem is it might interfere with the scoreboard, but we can try it. I usually try to keep the score or the counter displays off when I am messing with scoreboards. But we can see what happens. So 14, beautiful. We've hit 13. I'll wait for it to hit 12. And our scoreboard is 12 and our party cannon fired off. So that is my version of a 4-gate. I really wish the iteration cycle process from the counter worked a lot faster. It is a great feature they added into the game. It is just incredibly slow. So again, this is Cimmerian. That was just a small add-on to my last video on counters, and I hope you all have